Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are and whatever time you see this video. We have a special guest, Miss Rhonda Furin. She is from Southern California, and she recently ran for congressional position from 45th Congressional District in California. And she has been a educator and also active politician. Active in politics for a long time. So we would like to hear more from her. Welcome to the show, Miss Rhonda Furin.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Did you want me to introduce myself?
Yeah. If you can tell us more about yourself, where did you grow up, like Minneapolis, and your education, and then your career, and then how you got into politics, please.
All right. So I have been a teacher for 26 years. I was born and raised in Minnesota. I've actually been a student 29 years, so I've actually been a student longer than I've actually taught. I decided to get into politics when I was about 15 years old, when I was very active in beauty pageants. And I did a lot of speeches in regards to the future, where our next generation needs to go. And my father wanted me to always go into law, but because I graduated in 1983 when Ronald Reagan was in office, and his focus was on education with Newt Gingrich and Dr. Bill Bennett, I decided to go into education. I actually wrote my thesis based on Ronald Reagan's administration and A Nation at a Risk. I decided to run for Congress due to a lot of things that were going on in our educational system here in our state, which I'll talk to you a little in depth later.
Sure.
But it's quite, I have taught every single grade level, pre-K through adult. I've taught in 2 states, Minnesota, California. I've taught special ed, general ed, homeschool, maternity leave, suspensions, tutoring, and Sunday school. I have the solutions to just about any problem we have in education because of the years of experience I've had in education. My education is very in-depth. I have a master's, I have a behavior analysis, I have dual credentials in 2 states. I've continued my education to include sales and marketing and curriculum and instruction. And it was because of the educational system here in the state that I decided to run for Congress. Because of what was going on with, Common Core in this state, what was going on with the California Family Ed Code. Basically, I'll say 3 of them, which really bothered me: 6925, 6927, and 6928, regarding minor consent. I really feel that we need to bring religion back into the schools. And it really doesn't matter what religion you have, just as long as you have a God with you. We've taken that out of our classrooms. We need to bring that back. We need to focus on family back in the classrooms, and individuality. I really feel that education is the key that opens every door, and it will open the door to not only this nation, but a child. We really need to get a handle on that. I can go on to a lot of cases that I am very conscious of. Like, when I first came here in California, I came as a general ed teacher. I taught 1st grade. And I really know that in order for kids to progress, you need to have them reading by the end of 1st grade. And it wasn't happening. And a lot of times I was getting students that were up in the higher grades of elementary that weren't even reading. The majority of students actually, I don't know if you know about the TV show, Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader?
Yeah.
Was it a TV show here? Okay, well, I give a lot of the academic tests, and the majority of the population, it's sad to say, is at a 5th grade level. They read at a 5th grade level, they comprehend at a 5th grade level, and hence that show came out, and it was very popular. We also have where we were targeting students because of their color here in this state and denying them special education access. And I stepped up and talked about that. And there's a very famous case called Larry P. versus the state of California, which I was very active in. And that's something that, people can research on their own. It involves where a boy did not learn how to read and later on moved to another state from our California down south. And he became disabled through some work. And because he wasn't able to read, he was not able to get his disability. Hence, he became homeless. And so it's very important that we do not deny children, an education. They're entitled to that. And did you want to go on?
Then, yeah, no, if you want to go on, continue, that's fine. Or else if you want to go to another topic and then come back to this, fine, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't worked in a few years. And one of the things I've been very vocal about on social media are things that happened to me while I was working. And one of them was in which the particular school district I was working at were campaigning on putting illegal cameras into the campuses. And I overheard the conversation and I confronted them, including the company, because in this particular meeting, they were going to target minorities, dominantly Hispanics and Blacks. And they even talked about how effective it was in another state, Atlanta, Georgia. And I immediately, the next day I go back to work and I'm just like, hey, I'm not in education to target people. I'm here to teach children. California came and recruited me and brought me from Minnesota here. And just to say, I confronted the owner of the company. I confronted the VP at my school. I confronted the building director. And let's just say it didn't go over too well because I, basically have not worked in the last few years. I've only worked like 2 years out of the last 10 years because of things I brought up that need to be adjusted in our school system. And unless we do something, we're not going to we're going to deal with socialism. You brought up socialism. Okay, the key to socialism is a good educational foundation. And we really need to get a handle on that because even, with this COVID going on, we find out that children are not learning the way they should through this distance learning. So that is not the proper way to teach children at the younger age. They need social interaction. They need their teachers. They need to be in school. And so we really need to get a grasp on redoing education. And unfortunately, well, here I am in California. When I became a teacher, I was hired by 5 states. They recruiting me. And I chose California because I thought, the 5th largest economy in the world, we're going to have so much at our disposal that, we're in the top 5. California was actually in the top 5 in education. And I thought, I'm going to move to a state where I can have all these successful students that's been in my life, that I can produce. Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen because our educational system in California has actually been more or less in the bottom 5 since I've been here, bottom 5, bottom 10. And, I ran for Congress saying we need to get a handle, we need reform in education. I didn't get too far because actually integrity and voter fraud does exist. People may say it doesn't, but it does. And now we are on this mission to recall this governor and to bring back, the Reagan era back to Sacramento. And I'm going to do everything that I can. And it's a total volunteer effort at this point. They sit here, Gavin goes, well, it's going to cost $81 million. No, the women that I'm working with are all putting in free time, volunteering their time because they know that their children's lives matter. California children's lives matter. And whatever happens in California basically directs the rest of the world. Hence why I'm on this talk today with you. One state that has that much power needs to have new direction. And we're not going to do it I'm not doing it by myself. People keep saying, Rhonda, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I've been in education for 29 years, 26 years. Okay, ask me about education, but I have to put together a team that's going to address all the things that we have, going on in this world. We have a lot of issues that are going on, but it starts in education. Let me talk about something else that's a major problem in education: corruption. Okay, when you have, there was the year 2014, 2015 that I said in one of my forums, this nation actually put more money into education than we did our military. And when you deal with that kind of money, you're going to deal with a lot of corruption. And a lot of things that I advocated against when I was running for Congress was not to vote for the bonds. The bonds are a form of corruption. And there's a website called bigbadbonds.com that actually says, they use keywords like leaks, asbestos, leaky roofs, fixing things. Well, look at a lot of the schools in the United States. A lot of the schools are 50 to 70 years old buildings. And they want to keep putting money in to fix these buildings when actually you could tear down that school, rebuild it into a building that needs less maintenance than what we're dealing with. And I tell the story about, one of the buildings I was in. They have the old flooring where they wax the floor. Okay, so they take all the furniture out of the building, out of the classroom, and they store it. Then they get the stripper and they strip the floor. Then they come back in and they wax the floor. Then they wax it, and then they have to have movers come and bring in everything back. Okay, that floor stays nice for about 2 days, because once you bring the kids back in there and moving the desks around, the floor is basically all trashed. I'm sorry, I'm going to speak the truth here. We could actually put in all new flooring. We could put in all new buildings, windows, for less money than the way they pass these bonds saying, we want $300 million, we want $700 million, we want $1 billion. You could build a school. And you know what? Our president knows that. He's a builder. So I'm a strong advocate for President Trump, who's trying to actually reform some of the issues that I talk about. Another problem we have is the public pension liability system here in this state. Okay, my particular school district, actually, I'm going to say, I like to give stories and scenarios. Okay, we use these after-school programs. These after-school programs, I'm going to just say numbers. Don't hold me to the numbers. Let's say an after-school program gets $6 million a year for an after-school program to keep the kids there from 3 until 6. That's great. That's helping families out. But they're not really doing anything for the students. And it's actually a way to embezzle money, which was happening in my school district. So the top administration was taking that $3 million or $6 million that they were getting, let's say $6 million, they were putting $4 million into a company that doesn't even exist, and then taking the $2 million and actually financing the after-school program, which was little of nothing. And if you do that for 5 or 6 years, you built yourself up a nice little nest egg of money into this company that doesn't exist, okay? And the kids are really not getting educated or exposed to anything that really matters. It's basically a cheap form of babysitting for students from 3 to 6. Okay, that was exposed, and it was exposed through several school districts here in California. We have a huge corruption cycle going through education, and that's just a couple of them. The bonds, the after-school programs, a lot of the things that they do here in education. So we really need to get a handle on that. Another thing that we have, with the public pension liability. Now, this administration, in their contracts, it's worded that even if they get caught doing some type of corruption, like taking that money from the after-school program, let's say they even go to prison, such as in the HBO documentary called Bad Education, they actually did time. I think some of those people in New York did 4 years, 4 to 7 years of prison. They were able to get out of prison and still collect their salary of $200,000 to $400,000 a year with full benefits till they die. Now let's take into consideration all these people that have small businesses here in California who Gavin Newsom is closing down. Okay, they work 24/7 in their small business. They come over here and have their small business, the hardest working people you've ever seen. Okay, they're investing their money in their small business. Okay, now look what's happening. Many of them are losing their businesses. They don't have a nest egg brought up or whatnot. Not like what's going on in education, where you can actually do a crime, pay your time, and end up with a salary that is more than you and I ever make. You know, a teacher, you think I'm ever going to make $200,000 and $400,000 a year? The maximum I was making was about $100,000. And when I retire, I think I get 60% of that. So a teacher doesn't even get that kind of money. Okay, it's the people that make the big money. Okay, and when you have that many people making that kind of money for your life, and you don't have enough people making money, putting the money into that public pension liability, this state is over $4 trillion in debt just because of that. And people are stealing the money. Are we ever going to catch up at that rate? No. Correct? No. So where do we get the money for that? Okay, Gavin Newsom has to be creative because there's no money at the state level. He has to go to the federal level. Okay, he's got to go to the federal level and say, what can we do to get federal funds here? Let's make something up. Let's do something. And then we have President Trump, who's in office, that's like, hey, yeah, I'm not going to pay your corruption deal. I'm not going to bail you out. Why should he? Why should the federal government bail out a state that doesn't know how to budget their own money and actually is embezzling the money? So we really need to get a hand on that. And that's, a reason I'm running for governor. Somebody's got to get a handle on education. Somebody's got to hold this state accountable and be transparent to the public so that they really see what's going on. Okay. And then as far as this Black Lives Matter, okay, if the Democrats really care about Black Lives Matter, why are they targeting them in the public school system? The public school system is run by Democrats. So don't say that, Black Lives Matter when your own party is attacking you in schools and not educating you. And I mentioned earlier that I was a homeschool teacher for pregnant girls, correct? Okay, well, I would go into their homes and educate them after school every day. Well, this is what the school districts do. They have these children at home. They're paying me only $20 an hour to go in and educate these kids because they're not going to try to educate them anymore. And then they'll carry them to almost full term, and then they'll have the child get an abortion. And that the big case here was right here in Yorba Linda, California, where they were doing abortions up until the 9th month. And I was strongly against that. At that point, when that came out years ago, I decided I was going to go to the union as a union rep and defund my teachers union. So I was signing waivers saying I cannot support this at all. I cannot. You have me in these homes working with these girls, which I strongly loved. I was buying them parenting books. I'm sitting here working with these girls to keep their babies. And then the union and the teachers are going against them and wanting them. Do you know how much money they make off abortions? I think people really need to do their homework when they sit here and come out and talk about things. The money they make off of abortions is astronomical. Okay? And it is horrific. So I actually was defunding my union, signing waivers, which they said, it's good for 3 years. Well, then all of a sudden the union says, oh, no, you have to sign a waiver every year. Well, then all of a sudden they wouldn't even allow me to change waivers. And I was attempting over 10 years ago to register as a Republican They won't even allow you in this state to switch over and register as a Republican if you are a teacher in the union. And so I basically had to retire this last year to sit there and say, I need to come out and register as a conservative Republican because my conservative Democrat Party left me. So basically that's where I was. I was a conservative Democrat fighting for teachers, fighting for kids, fighting for, and I basically had to come out, retire, and say, I'm proud to be a conservative Republican that's going to fight for, all babies matter, all minority children matter in our school system, all children need to be educated, such as the Larry P. case, where they were actually, and they still do this, 1970, that case, where they were labeling blacks in this state educatable mentally retarded just because of their color. Since when does that happen? Now let's go into something else. I mean,
I want to ask one question here, if you're okay. You said, Democrats are targeting the black, students, or African American students in the school system. Can you elaborate a little more on that one, please, if you don't mind?
Okay, yes. Remember I told you I overheard a bunch of building facilitators and school board people putting in illegal cameras in my school system? Okay, one of our school board members even had on a flyer a few years back, vote for me. I'm putting in cameras in the schools for safety. It wasn't for safety. It was to target them, for things that they didn't even do. And basically, one of the states that they talked about was Atlanta, Georgia, how effective it was. And they started talking about how they were targeting blacks. And then somebody from my school district's talking about, well, we're going to target all your Hispanics in your district. And I'm sitting here listening, and I called the CEO of the company and actually emailed him. And he ended up resigning. He's not even with the company anymore. And the company was out of Seattle, Washington. Okay. And, they've actually, they've acknowledged that they were using illegal cameras in our school system, in our school district, okay, because they got caught. And, if they care so much about, minorities, Hispanics, blacks, whatever, then you should care about them in the school system. You should care about them not having them getting abortions when they're 9 months pregnant. Okay, you should not want to label them educatable, mentally retarded because of their color. Okay, since when is Black Lives Matter going to realize that all lives matter and go and look at the school system and what has the school system been doing to you for these many years? We really have to get a handle on that, and I'm fighting for that because I confronted them. So that's where we go with that. Now, let's go into another aspect that will involve blacks. One day I was walking in Santa Ana, California, and I was around the courthouse, and there was a tent city, a bunch of people in tents, and they were passing out free tents. And these homeless people, there was urination and feces on the sidewalks. They were hosing it off. They were giving them tents. And I go up to anybody, and I went up to them. I said, "Why are you giving them free tents? Look at, I have to walk across this. My sandals are all wet. It's a health issue here." And I said, "Why would you give them a free tent and have them be housed right here on the sidewalks of the courthouse?" And the guy that was giving out the free tents said to me, "Oh, well, most of these people are veterans that were in Afghanistan, and they're used to living like this and sleeping in these kind of accommodations." And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, really? Oh, really? Okay." So I just thought, this is very interesting. It just so happens about a month ago, I was at a, America flag. We have these little groups where we have these little, American Patriot parties and whatnot. And I was at an American Patriot party, okay? And I met a veteran that was renting a room in the house from one of the Patriots. And he started talking and he says, yeah, this Patriot's actually moving. So this is like my last week here. I don't have a place to stay. And I said, geez. I said, I'd hate to see you. And he was telling me his story that he was a combat veteran from Afghanistan. And I said, geez, I've heard what they do. They're going to just give you a tent. And I said, I can't have you on a tent. You're a patriot. You fought for us. I said, you know what? I'll take you into my house until we decide where we'll find you a permanent residence, with another patriot. So he's been with me for not quite a month. I would say about 3 weeks. But, and he actually is Black. And he's staying here with me until we find permanent residence. He's 28 years old. We're trying to get him the help that he needs. But I mean, so if Black lives matter, where does his life fit in? Where does my patriot friend who's 28 years old, who was a combat veteran, okay, who they underestimated and didn't think he was going to come home alive. He didn't even think he was going to come home alive. So when does his life matter, right? I asked them that. I asked them, when are these babies' lives going to matter? When are all these children that these school districts are targeting, when do their lives matter? Because they all matter to me, and I actually am doing something about it, okay? So, for people to come back to me and say, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about, I definitely know what I'm talking about. I definitely know. Another
so
thing,
what do you propose? Let us say if you are elected to any of the offices, let us say let it be Congress or the governor position. So what is that you want to bring some changes in the education system? What kind of changes would you like to bring?
Well, we need educational reform. Okay, let me just tell you some things that are happening in education right now. Okay, the people that go into the top positions in education, they go there. This is how education works. Okay, people spend their whole life going to school for education. My entire background's in education. They go into education, and let's say you can't make it your first 3 years or 4 years to get tenured. Tenure is where you have, support for the rest of your life, So what happens with these people that don't really get tenure and are not effective teachers, they go into administration. And that's basically what we have. We have ineffective people that couldn't teach, okay, that go into administration. And they're the ones that are creating this mess. Okay, we need teachers that actually love children, love the classroom, that have taught 10 to 15 years, successful teaching, that can go into administration, because they're the ones that know what's best for our children, and they'll do the best when it comes to reforming education, which I just recently saw just now. A lot of things teachers didn't realize, which I knew as a union rep. I was on the LCFF committee for the local funding. Taxes pay for new textbooks and new supplies for schools every 4 years. Textbooks, updating. We get new computers, we get new iPhones every year, we get all these things that come out, new cars. Okay, why is it that, why didn't teachers question why they have textbooks that are 15 to 20 years old? Well, actually taxpayers are buying those textbooks. We are buying textbooks every 4 years, but the money doesn't go into the textbooks, because where does the money go? It's some kind of corruption ring. And when I sit there and I was talking to some of the teachers that are now working with me on the recall, some of the teachers say, one teacher said, oh yeah, I was in my classroom and I had a world map that was from 1968. Can we be teaching on a world map in your classroom from 1968? No! And that's what California has in their classrooms right now. That's not, and that's why some of these classrooms have textbooks that are 15 to 20 years old when actually the money has been buying them. If you look on the state budget, I'm calling out Gavin Newsom right now on a lot of things. Money is paying for some of this stuff, but they're not seeing it. We're not seeing those maps. We're not seeing those textbooks that actually are funded, and so we need, I'm speaking truth. I can go on about all kinds of
we can see that one. I mean, in many departments, the funding is some reason, not being very effective and being used efficiently. That's what we see it. And coming back to the education in California, what do you think, is the main reason California once, it was in the top 5 or top 10. Now it is the other way around. It is from down. It is in the same number, but from the other side.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about education. Okay, they brought in a lot of illegal immigrants. Okay, because they want the vote. And okay, I told you earlier that I homeschooled, right? And I go and tutor in children's homes. So this is true. People can call me out and say, because I was in these homes. So I would go to a home, which is perhaps a 3-bedroom home with a full garage. And in that home, there would be 7 families living in that one home. And each of those families would have 2 to 4 children. Each bedroom housed an entire family. So you'd have 3 families living in the house. In the garage, they would petition off the garage, and 4 families would be living in the garage. So you have all these students going to this local school, but the property taxes are paying for one house, one family. So let's say the property taxes on that house roughly $4,000 a year. Do you think that $4,000 can subsidize 7 families at that school? No. It's difficult to do math. And I'm sitting here and I'm going like, wow, we really need to get a handle on that. This state has been, I keep saying, we use Peter to pay Paul, Paul to pay Peter, Paul to pay Peter, it just goes on and on. It's an endless cycle where they're rambling around to find money to subsidize stuff where there is no money. We have to be realistic. We really have to be transparent. Okay.
So you mean to say the more number of people are coming in and they're not, paying the taxes. So the money to the schools are low. So that's the reason school systems are failing over a period of time. Is that one of the reasons, or is it the main reason, or what do you think?
That's one of the reasons. And then I told you about the corruption. I told you about the public pension liability, like, the people that are up there that are actually, making, and there's court cases, that say this. Who deserves a $400,000 salary for life for stealing money from kids with benefits? My veteran friend who's here for staying here, he's 28 years old, he's disabled. He's making roughly about $40,000. That's not enough money to buy a house. That's how we're treating a veteran. And he had free health care for 5 years. 5 years. The people that stole the money from these school districts get full benefits for life and a $400,000 salary. Where do you see something's wrong here in this state?
That is, it is very unfortunate to see a veteran, going through this kind of situation, and where other people, are making good fortune out of the system, which is doesn't sound right. Actually, no doubt about it. Coming back to one more part, the education. If staying back on the education side, California recently, proposed a bill, to repeal 209 and new ACA. As such, the California, it's a very competitive state. We're getting into the colleges are very competitive. You have to have a high GPA, good SAT score, and all those things. And on top of it, if you get the repeal the 209 and the ACA, I mean, is it a good way to go about it, or what do you think? I mean, it has to come on a ballot and then it will go. I don't know. Yeah,
As far as education, we really need to bring trade schools back in and other things, because having the highest GPA is not the answer, because we're letting too many people sink, falling through the cracks. Okay, we have taken out the arts. We have taken out the music. We have taken out the physical instruction. Let me tell you the difference between Minnesota education and California education. Okay, children learn best the younger they are. Okay, the younger you are, you're going to pick up 5 languages. The younger you are, you're going to be better at basketball, football, any soccer, a sport. The younger you are, with the musical instrument, the better you are. Music, art. Okay, in California, I came here as an elementary teacher with a license to teach K through 6. Okay, general education. They don't, and when I was going to school, I had a music specialist, I had a PE specialist, I had an art specialist, I had, all these specialists that come in. I had a nurse, I even had a librarian. Okay, that was their job. They had degrees in that. When you come to California, they had me go back to school because now I can teach K through 12, all subjects. Believe it or not, I can teach kindergarten 1 year and go teach, some kind of 12th grade calculus the next year. Do you think I can really do that? No. No.
It's not possible. It is not possible. Yeah.
That's how they give credentials here, because they're so short and they really don't want to educate the kids. Okay, so we really need to bring back, I prefer the young kids because I know how to teach a kid how to read. We need to bring back art teachers, music teachers, PE coach teachers. Okay, I was raised having coaches in the elementary grade. That's where you learn teamwork, regulations, rules. We don't even have that anymore. Half the time, okay, I've been in this state now since 1996. Teachers don't even have the kids go out and play. Kids don't know how to play any game except for, this dodgeball where they throw the ball and they don't know the rules. They don't know teamwork. So when are they really exposed to sports unless they are through their parent, doing that? But the schools aren't promoting that at all. The schools aren't promoting teamwork. They don't have, that type of PE until the kid gets into middle school. Well, then they're already on drugs. Yeah, they're on drugs, they're pregnant, they're this, they're that. Who knows who knows? We need to get them engaged into what their interest is. If you have a child that is so engrossed in sports by the 3rd grade, they're going to be focused on their sports. If you have a musician, they're going to be focused on their music, or art. But we're not allowing those children to flourish. We're too busy trying to find your high GPA in something that, you think they need a high GPA to be some famous musician? No. Be realistic. What we're shutting out here in our kids. We really need to bring this stuff back. Okay, California needs to change their entire way of educating teachers and putting people in these schools. It really needs to be addressed.
We in the Midwest have seen we in the Midwest we have seen the teachers teaching the same subject for many years. I mean, let it be 40 years an English teacher or 17 years a math teacher. We have seen those kind of things, and also they send the kids out in the midwinter. Peak winter time. Also, kids have to go out and play unless it is single-digit temperatures. Mostly they do go out every day here. I don't know why. California doesn't allow. Is it because of infrastructure or the education system is such? I don't know. How can you?
Well, we actually, I told you about the schools most of the schools are 40 to 70 years old here. When I came here, I thought I was going to turn around and go back after the first year. I was like, I've never seen anything. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Many of these schools, the kids were teaching in these little portable buildings, okay, that didn't have, ramp access. No, there's no ramp, there's no ADA. Let me tell you something about ADA, okay? This is true story too, because I was a special ed teacher. Okay, there was the law passed that, we have ADA for Disability Act. Okay, so all these buildings and everybody had to change to access these kids. Well, what this state did, and this is true because you can go into a lot of our state buildings, local buildings, county buildings. Outside the building, they have the handicap parking, okay, right by the door. And then you get to the door will not even fit a wheelchair. You can go into the building, there's no elevator, it's stairs. Then you can go to the restroom or wherever, and the door's not wide enough to fit a walker or a wheelchair. So basically, if somebody gets hurt, this isn't even, you don't even have to be permanently disabled. Let's say you have some type of car accident and you're confined to a wheelchair for, a couple years. Basically, they're going to throw you in the homeless category because the facilities are not designed to accommodate you those 2 years you're trying to get rehabilitated. Okay, that's a given fact. I can sit here and tell you building after building after building where this is in violation. And this state received billions of dollars to accommodate these people. So that's why you see a lot of people, homeless people that are disabled, because basically the state put them there. Let's talk about the homeless situation.
Yeah, that's important. The another topic, California is have more number of homeless people, both especially in San Francisco and LA. So why is it, and also you see a lot of veterans also becoming homeless. So you can you say your opinion and our perspective on why people are becoming homeless? Yeah.
The homeless, this state doesn't do anything unless they make money off of it. Okay, they keep their school system failing because they make money off of it. They keep traffic like it is because they make money off of it. The homeless is a situation that they make money off of. Now, let me tell you where the money is going, because you can go on California State Transparency, and you can look at psychiatrists' wages. You can look at pain doctors or some of these doctors that deal with some of these people. They are making anywhere from, I would say, $600,000 up to $6 million. Now, let me tell you where the money goes. And I'm saying factual numbers because you can go on State Transparency and look at it. Okay, so you have a psychiatrist that's making money. And then you have the pain doctor who's actually giving the medication to these people, the veterans, and passing out the little bags of drugs to keep them in that homeless state. And then we got rid of all the facilities here in California, all the, institute, the facilities like that. So basically, they're giving them the tents free on taxpayer money. It's being billed to the doctors of the facilities. They're making the money off of this. We need to bring back the buildings, the doctors, the accountability, but they're making, a facility can make like $3 million. One of these doctors can make $3 million. So there you got, they're double billing. You have doctors making $3 million just saying that they're meeting with these people, giving them their free drugs. Then you have the facilities making $3 million because they're giving them the free tents and some blankets and some stuff or whatnot, and it's all coming from our taxpayer, our money. Okay, they don't want to solve the problem because it's so many kickbacks in this business that they make money from kickbacks on these homeless people. And I can sit there and I can pull up the page and say, here, look, do your research, do your homework. I was a teacher. Do your homework because it's very easy. And why are they not fixing these buildings, where they received all this money? Think about even the banking, the ATM machines. Okay, some of these things are not wheelchair accessible because they don't want them to get there. They want them to be homeless. They lose their money. They're making money off of this. The ADA situation here is horrific. And okay. I called Gavin Newsom out on that. He won't, come and talk to me about that.
Yeah, recently, yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Recently, I think Governor of California looks like he has spent some, using an executive order. I mean, he has spent some money in buying some motels and hotels, and then trying to put these people temporarily, the homeless people in these places, and then make them ready for the job or anything. That's what I heard. I read the news. So, what do you think about that? Is it a good move or a bad move, or what is it? I mean, again, is it again a scheme to take money out of it?
I don't trust anything that he's done, because now he's involved with I posted something about the guns and the COVID with China. I really don't trust anything that he's doing. I really think that what he's doing is trying to, get people to not go with this recall. So I think that we really need to recall him. Sacramento needs overhaul. We need to get new people in there. I'm tired of these career politicians going in there saying that they're not going to fix anything. And only, I can't believe the population of California that sits here and says, well, yeah, we're just going to keep throwing money at this same problem for 40 years without it ever getting better. Okay, I was a special education teacher. You didn't even have to throw money at me to teach me how to teach my kids how to read or get my kids in and out of special education in 5 years. I just had to do my job. Okay. Yeah. And I had more kids coming into special education when they were caught early and exiting by the time they went to middle school, because they didn't want to be in special education in their middle school. They want to hang out with their friends and stuff. Well, then, you know what happened then? Then we had the administration going like, oh, we're not going to put a child in special education till they're in 5th grade. You can't put a child in special education in 5th grade. They're going into middle school. You see the cycle where they just want, if something is working, they'll do something and say, no, we got to make it, we got to break this up. We can't have any success here because we can't get this fixed, because how are we going to ask you for more money? The answer is not throwing money at the problem. The problem is do your job. Get it done. Right. Okay, but I don't know why California just wants to get rid of here. I'm just going to pay more taxes. I'm just going to give you more gas tax. No. When are people going to wake up and say, no, we're not giving you any more money. We're not giving you any more taxes. We're not going with the regulations. We're not going with we want this fixed now. California.
Very nice point. I mean, see, you've been, in the teaching profession for a long time, and then you're passionate about it. I mean, I'm sure someday things will change, and hopefully it will change for the better. But at the same time, you have another issue which you want to talk about it, which is bringing back a California dream. I mean, which you rightly said. I mean, the taxes are high. Your paycheck taxes are high. Gas taxes are high, and cost of living is very high. And even some businesses are leaving the California and then moving out to some other places. And even citizens are leaving California, moving out to different states. I mean, because of the cost of living and the traffic issues. So, what is that? I mean, what is your view and what is your opinion? What do you think if you become a governor or if you become an officer? What kind of changes would you like to bring so that you can keep the people stay in California and businesses stay in California and generate more employment in California?
Okay, well, once again, I'll go back to immigration. I mean, they basically use illegal immigration to get the vote. Okay, we have a housing problem here. Affordable housing is astronomical, and they don't want to solve it. Okay, the regulations are astronomical. People can't even come in here. I was talking to somebody who became a citizen, and he said, Rhonda, he goes, I came here with bringing this great idea of my business here. And he said, they actually made it impossible for me to start my business here. And he goes, I came here legally, and he's telling me his whole life story. So, don't reward the people that come here illegally. Reward the people that come here legally, that want to bring a business here to thrive, that will help California to become the dream state that it can be. And it's very sad because, I came from small town. Okay, many of my family was in small businesses, extended family. You know, that's what makes a community. Okay, that's what, you know, makes us all, you know, who we are, and gets everybody neighborly, and people are become a community. Well, they don't want that here. They want, you know, like the big, you know, businesses here. They want to take out everybody else. And that's not who we are. You don't take out the people that come here legally that have all these great ideas, like the restaurant business. I've never seen a restaurant business hit so hard as here in this state. And the majority of our restaurants that are here in California are small restaurants in which people immigrated to California and have their family recipes. Okay, and the state is just pushing them out and closing them down. Now Gavin Newsom closes indoor eating and says you can only eat outside. Okay, so now a lot of these restaurants are putting tables and whatnot outside, taking away from the handicap parking, because now all the close parking, you know, by the stores are now taken away, and you have all these tents and tables outside. I've never seen something where he creates more problems than he is solving them. Because now he's actually taken away the parking from the ADA people and made all these restaurants outdoor restaurants in the handicap parking spots. You know, he just doesn't know how to solve one problem. He just knows how to create more problems. You know, it's got to get out. You know, I'm sorry that he does. And I actually came and talked about solutions. I had a solution for healthcare. I had a solution for human trafficking, which were other issues that I brought up. And nobody wanted to hear them. You know, people were.
Yeah, good. I mean, you say it. I mean, yeah, so what are your plans for the healthcare and the human trafficking? Please go ahead and share your views.
Well, you know, I teamed up with a girl. Okay, the largest human trafficking in the nation was actually right here in California, Irvine. Okay, and you know, did we hear about it? No, they didn't want to talk about it. Okay, it actually was here, and ironically, it was here in Minnesota, and right here in Irvine, and nobody talked about it. And I actually teamed up with a girl. Her name is Janelle Gordon, and she's got this website called Beyond Freedom International.org, and she has all these practical solutions. And she's gone forward, and she's like, come out, and she's got, you know, I have the solutions, I have this. You team up with experts in the field. And they've shut her down over and over and over again. And then same with healthcare. Okay, healthcare can be solved very simply by using your DNA and CRISPR to determine, you can actually use your DNA, determine if you're going to get a sickness later in life or not, and prevent whatever is happening. But do they want to solve problems here? No, they want to wait until something else has escalated and it's out of control, because that's a way we can say, oh, we have another problem. Vote us in because you need to throw more money at us. You know, why don't you use the tools that you have, you know, to solve a problem? Another person I met was actually Ethan Samuels. He's got a vetlife.com. And he works with vets, because he was a vet, to, you know, get them back here, you know, saving money and building for the future and getting them in homes. But yet when I come forward, and I came forward with different people, and I said, you know, I got these solutions. I've met different experts in different fields, and I'm coming with solutions with people that are knowledgeable in different areas. And they're just like, we don't want to hear you. In fact, what they started to do to me when I was running for Congress, they were sending me to forums where there was nobody there to listen to me. And I'm just like, why am I the only candidate from District 45 at this event? You know, it's because they're going like, well, because she's got solutions to the situations we have here, and we don't want her talking because she speaks actually logical. And they didn't want to hear logic. They don't want to hear that I don't need your money to solve the problem. I just need to get the people on board.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, right? Think about it. Think about it.
Unfortunate thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's very easy. You know, it's just doing your job without, you know, I've never seen a state that just ask for more money. You know, when you have this kind of money, it breeds corruption. And sadly, that's what we have here. We're dealing with a state that's using healthcare or trafficking or education or homelessness to actually, you know, hoard more money. And I'm not going into politics to actually hoard this or whatever. I'm going into it to solve some issues we have. You know, when I was 15 years old and was passionate about where we needed to go, you know, in leadership, in our future generation, and until we grasp the kids that are going to school, it's only going to create a cycle that's going to get worse. And ironically, when I sit here and talk about this, and I reach out to, you know, mothers, because who carries around the babies for 9 months? Mothers. They're the ones that have gone through this. And they're going like, yeah, we want the best for our kids. And we know now that throwing money into these problems is not the answer. It's you know, I really, with this whole Recall Gavin, fortunately, I've met a lot of women, and a lot of them are single mothers. Okay, our #1 family institution now is single parent, and nobody has ever addressed that. Nobody. And I came out saying we got to do something more for the single parent family, because that's where we're losing the kids too. Mm-hmm. And we need more support for single parent families. And now with Gavin Newsom and this whole COVID closing this down, what is it doing to these families? What is it doing to them? It's just making the institution worse. And sadly, you know, we have this technology, and we got to do this distance learning. Children don't know how to use a computer. They know how to use their cell phone. They know how to text. You know I was a teacher, I saw it. Okay, that first year that we had the online testing where we got rid of all the written tests, the kids were given all these tests to do online. They were timed. They didn't even know how to keyboard. They just know how to text with their thumbs. Another thing that they had to do, they had to type everything out in Word format. Not just solve the math problem, type out the steps how to solve the problem. They don't know how to spell. It doesn't do spell check. They're spelling everything wrong. They're getting it deducted. The time wasn't long enough. They weren't able to fill it out. And the apps on the computer where they could use the paper and pencil to do computation, they were not able to use because they didn't know how to use the app on the test taking to use their paper and pencil on the computer. So therefore, that first year that they had all these tests online, it was billions of dollars that they spent. 2014, 2015, this was during the Obama administration. All that money was thrown out because that entire year, they threw out every test. We spent, as a nation, we spent all this money doing this testing, and it was thrown out. Now this year, we had COVID, and what did they do? What did President Trump do? What did we do? Well, there's no testing this year. You know, he did the logical reason. Okay, these kids have not been in school for a few months or whatever. It's not fair to give them the test, so let's just scrap the test. That's reasonable, right? Why didn't we do that in 2014 and 15? No, because it was a way that they could take money and basically, you know, throw it here and there, and people made money off something that really wasn't even counted. Billions of dollars. Where are the Democrats? Where are the people hounding about where we threw away so much money?
Gotcha. So one last question for the day today. I mean, you've been in the educator for a long time. I mean, now today it's a hot topic in the nation too. I mean, going back to the school. I mean, now, I mean, this is school, I mean, reopening time has almost come in few states. And a few states and the federal government is debating about, I mean, sending the kids back to the school. So what do you think of the situation like health versus the education? I know I see your opinion on the online education. You're not pro for that, but I mean, so what is your opinion, or what is your solution you think is right for the schools and the parents and the students to do coming this academic year?
Okay, well, we definitely need more parent involvement and teacher involvement. The schools need to be safe. Okay, so we need to put into effect, a safety plan. Let me talk about some of the safety issues that actually I faced as a teacher. Okay, and many of these schools were not prepared for any type of disaster. Okay, many of these schools didn't even have working fire alarms. Okay, many of these schools didn't even know how to prepare themselves if something happened and these kids didn't get their lunches. I mean, I can tell story after story about, we need to prepare these schools for fire alarms, prepare them for safety issues, get them prepared into schools, get this distancing. Another problem that they had, I mean, I can sit here and go on and on about education. California, once again, did another disaster unto itself. They destroyed the special education system here in this state, because there used to be two forms of special education: RSP, which were kids that could learn in the general ed classroom, or SDC, which were kids that needed, more help more than 51% of the day. Because there was such a shortage of teachers, credentialed teachers like myself, that went into special education. Nobody wants to go into the field because it's very
demanding.
Yeah, it's demanding. It's a lot of work. You got to be all over the place, and so there's a shortage of special education teachers. So what they did was they took the RSP, which had a cap of 26 students that could go up to 28. They took that and put it all into one. The SDC RSP now is called SDI, with no cap on students. So one special education teacher can have there's no limit. Not only that, with no limit, you can't really reach all these children individually, nor do people realize the time that a special education teacher puts into the paperwork or the meetings. I had meetings where I would have probably, 15 to 25 people in one meeting, and I was the facilitator. And this IEP would be anywhere from 30 to 50 pages long. They don't take into consideration what it takes to be a special education teacher. So they really need to redo the special education system here and not leave children behind. Bring in trade, the music, arts, PE. These kids are not academically, they're not going to go for that GPA. But are you going to throw them out before they even get there? No, you find something that they can do. Okay, that's where we're failing, and that's where we're creating a lot of homelessness and a lot of disparity right there in our educational system once again. Let's build the California dream for all children instead of isolating them, segregating them, and I don't even want to hear another word about Black Lives Matter, because until you start dealing with reality, which I know, then that's where we'll go. We basically need to get a handle on it, because education will steer socialism. Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for your views and the perspective. Do you have anything else to add today?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming onto the show and sharing your views and the perspective on many other topics. And I'm sure, one day the education system will improve, and we wish you all the best in your elections or your political career. And we wish that your new friend, veteran friend, will find a solution for his life, and we wish him all the best too. Thank you. Have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.